This is Rich Franklin, and you're listening to Stand and Bang.
Hey, this is Jim Miller, and you're listening to Stand and Bang.
Hey, this is Dan Miller, and you're listening to Stand and Bang.
Hey guys, this is Hurricane Heather Joe Clark, and you're listening to Stand and Bang Radio.
Hey, this is Max Gladys Holloway, and you're listening to Stand and Bang Radio.
Hi, I'm Andrea KGB Lee, and you're listening to Stand and Bang Radio.
Hey everybody, Bob Swinton here. You are listening to Stand and Bang. Boom!
Hey fight fans, welcome back to another episode of Stand and Bang. I'm your host Aaron Robbins, and with me as always is my good buddy Fred Kirby from Gem City Fighting. Fred.
I am doing great. How are you doing tonight, Aaron?
Well, I didn't ask you how you're doing, but I am doing fine. I just said your name, but if you want to infer how you were doing, then I'm glad you're doing good. We are joined tonight by Raquel Pennington. Raquel, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
Well, apparently we are both doing very well. This is Mother's Day weekend, so real quick. Raquel, did you get to visit with your mom? Did you have a good Mother's Day weekend?
I did. We actually, I'm very close with my mom. She's my best friend. And then also as well with my Nana and my Nina, which is my aunt and my grandma. So we had a family dinner. And then I kind of just spoiled my mom with some new furniture for her house, got everything all set up and stuff. And it's been a good day.
Oh, that's very nice. Fred and I have different situations that we won't talk about on Mother's Day, but I will say this. My mom lives in Florida, and that's probably for the best, because I think we now get along for about 72 hours tops. And then we're so alike that by that time it's like, wait, it was good seeing you again. Now get the hell out of here.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like me and my dad.
Yeah, you know, some parents are just like that. So, all right, without further ado, we're going to go ahead and pick your brain a little bit tonight, ask you some questions, and hopefully get some good answers out of you. So, I read after the fight with Holly Holm that there was suspicion that you busted either one or both hands and are currently on a 180-day suspension. Is that correct?
That was the rumor going around. It was actually what happened, but I got the suspension lifted. I went and did x-rays, got stuff taken care of. I pretty much went into the fight with injured hands. I mean, being an athlete, it's almost guaranteed you're not going to go into anything 100%, especially with MMA. I mean, overall, it's just abuse to your body. So I had a really rough fight camp. My hands have never hurt so bad the way they did through my whole fight camp, and I mean, going into the fight, you have so much adrenaline that you're just going to town with the little bones and stuff, and I did some damage to my hands, so they were pretty swollen. They thought that after the fight, I definitely broke both of them, but I got the x-rays, and they turned out clear. It just turns out that I have a lot of tendon issues, which pretty much sucks. I think I would have rather have broken them, because they would have healed a lot faster compared to having tendons that are damaged.
Okay, so did the docs give you any idea on the soft tissue damage, how long that's going to take to heal up?
They told me 4 to 6 weeks for my right hand. They actually casted my left hand, but it was causing everything else to hurt. I believe that your joints are meant to move, so putting on a cast just kind of created my wrist and other things to really get irritated. So I actually cut the cast off and haven't completely followed the doc's directions, so
no way.
My healing process is a little longer.
Kirby, have you ever heard of that? A combat athlete not following a doctor's directions?
No, I find that hard to believe, actually.
I actually
that's so
find
surprising.
I find it very easy to believe. You guys don't really listen worth a damn most of the times, but that's good. You're absolutely right. I am a chiropractor, and I agree with you 100%. Joints need to move. So, hey, you know what? You could probably kick your doctor's butt. So, you know, you take the cast off. That's it. That is what it is. So, during the fight with Holly, though, were the hands exacerbated? Were they worse throughout the fight? Did you notice at some point, oh boy, I just hit her, say, in the forehead, or something happened, and now I know my hand is injured?
You know, probably in the second round is when I started to notice things. Like I said, I mean, you have so much adrenaline in the cage that you can't really feel a whole lot. But I was pretty mellow in my fight. Like, I was able to really relax and stay really grounded. So I felt a lot more. I felt like I was in training, and when the little bumps and bruises come, you can really feel them. I definitely felt the issue that I have with my left thumb. That was really uncomfortable. And then fight, like, how we kept clenching up with each other, and then I was throwing a combination every time we would exit the clench. I thought at one point I've broken both my collarbones, so that feeling that I got when we separated on one of our clinches, it felt like my collarbone just kind of snapped. And if you actually watch the fight, you can see me paying attention to my collarbone, but it just turned out that I strained my pec muscle underneath, so it started to like make my collarbone kind of protrude out. And I mean, there was little bumps and bruises here and there, but it's nothing that really affects you too much until I'd probably have to say about 3 minutes after the fight. Then you're like, oh, okay, my whole body hurts.
Okay. You know what? I thought it was your shoulder during the fight. I actually did notice that, and I remember getting on social media going, oh, Rocky hurt her shoulder. But I guess it was the collarbone or the pec that made you think it was the collarbone.
Yeah, that was pretty uncomfortable. It definitely felt, I don't know, it was that burning sensation and just felt like a really weird pop. And I actually walked out of the cage with a nice bruise that started showing up immediately on my collarbone, and then it just got worse from there.
Okay, so during that you were cognizant of a collarbone injury or the pec hurting you, and also your hands. Do you believe that stopped you from being as aggressive as you normally are? Because you're quite an aggressive fighter, and I was a little bit surprised to see a different level of aggression from you. Do you think that was to protect yourself a little bit?
I mean, it had nothing to do with injuries. There's no excuses with that at all. I've never been the type to let anything really faze me. I mean, as you can tell with my prior fight against Ashley Evans-Smith, as soon as I took that cut to my head, it didn't even faze me one bit. I just continued to pick up the pace. So I'm not really that athlete that lets little injuries get to me. I mean, I face so many more injuries in training and push through them on a daily basis that in the fight, I mean, they really feel like nothing. You just handle them afterwards. I think more so when it came to the fight, it was more just a mental thing. I mean, I think to a degree, I would have to say I kind of fell into the hype train of Holly Holm. Really, like, built her up and stuff. And, I mean, from that whole thing, just kind of overthinking things, I mean, anything can happen when you step into that cage. And so I think every fighter that you could pretty much talk to, it's a scary feeling when you're getting ready to go in there and then just to think of a lot. So I think I kind of held back to that degree. I was just overthinking way too much.
Okay. That brings us to one of the points that Fred wanted to make. Now, it is pretty well known, Fred and I have been doing this show for a little while, that he gets his ticket punched more than any other train rider when it comes to hype trains. And if I'm not mistaken, you had all aboarded the Holly Holmes hype train, had you not?
Yeah, I did, man. You know what it is, man. I definitely ride the hype trains, and I tend to get caught up in all the hype when somebody's coming to the UFC or about to make a big debut. And when she was coming in, there was a lot of hype behind her, and that's exactly what I was going to ask Rocky, is what it was like to deal with fighting somebody with that kind of hype coming in. Because honestly, you don't see a lot of women that get that kind of hype making their UFC debut. Like, everybody was talking about Holly Holm, and she had the head kick knockout, and she was going to do this and that, and it was her first fight. So, like, I was definitely wondering how you handled that.
Just to put it out there, it was really annoying, actually. I think that Holly, I mean, I think she's done great things as far as her career, boxing, whatever it may be. But not to take away from the girls that stepped into the cage with her, you know, I mean, it's not easy to get into the sport and to go out there and perform. So I definitely give them credit, but I really feel like she was pretty much babied when it came to her opponents, and she hasn't fought anybody on the elite level. She's barely getting that opportunity now, so it was really frustrating to just hear all this Holly, and I mean, that's all it pretty much was about, was Holly, and credit was taken away from everywhere else, and it's just, I don't know. It was more of an annoying factor than anything.
Well, now that you've actually fought her, do you feel like the hype was justified, or do you feel like it was a little
No,
overblown?
I feel like they were way overboard and way off with the hype that she should have behind her. You know, I mean, especially when it comes to those head kick knockouts, different things like that. I have a high pain tolerance, but, I mean, if you kind of ask me and if you actually pay attention to Holly's fights, as far as it comes to her hands, she hasn't really knocked anyone out to that degree, and her punches weren't hard at all, and her kicks, I mean, they weren't anything to be fazed by. I feel like when I fought Jessamine Duke on the Ultimate Fighter, that she kicked way harder. I was 10 times more sore. My forearm felt like it was about to snap from blocking her kicks. And, I mean, Holly's, they were so telegraphed and they didn't even faze me at all, that it was just kind of, she definitely didn't live up to the hype. And I think that fight definitely kind of put her out there and exposed her a little bit more.
I agree with that. Fred will be the first to tell you. He calls me the world's biggest hater. It's not true. I don't hate.
It's true. It's so true.
Okay. It's a little bit true. But I don't jump onto hype trains. What I want to do is see the evidence. And what I saw out of her with you is a defensive boxer. Is that safe to say?
Yeah, I definitely think when it came to her, she was just more of a point boxer.
There you go, point boxer, yep.
She wasn't really trying to do anything that was too great, and I put it as she was running from the cops. I felt like I was chasing her all over the cage. It was just like, okay, you were here, now you're there, now you're here, and it was actually pretty frustrating just chasing her around.
That's kind of funny, being from Dayton, and you know a little bit about running from the cops, right, Kirby?
Yeah, that's kind of an issue in my city.
All right, go ahead, Fred.
I agree, though. I do think that you did not really kill the hype train, but I do think you exposed her, that maybe the people that she put them highlights on wasn't necessarily up to snuff, and then when she got to the UFC, the talent level was a bit more deep than she was used to, for sure. And that fight definitely did expose that, no doubt.
Yeah, for sure.
So was that your first co-main event in the UFC?
Yep. Sure was.
How was that? And it was on a pretty massive card, and if I'm not mistaken, that was kind of on short notice for you. Like, what was that like? Was there a little bit of kind of, not UFC jitters because you had fought 3 times already, but like fighting in the co-main event on a huge card like that, was that a little nerve-wracking too?
It was exciting, you know? I mean, it was definitely an exhausting experience. We fly out, obviously, a week early before the fights, and while we're out there, we have some downtime. It's pretty much the week that we have to really recover and get things together and kind of just break light sweats, and that's really where it's just more of a mental preparation and then preparing for a weight cut and stuff like that. So being the co-main event, I mean, obviously we had a lot more to do. It was just nonstop from like 8 in the morning until 10:30 at night, and to want to go get a sweat, I mean, even during that time, I still eat regular, and I felt like I was not getting no food during that whole week. I was just like starving, I was tired, and so there was a lot really going on that was more mentally exhausting. And then, but I mean, as far as the co-main event and stuff, it was cool. It was definitely a great experience to be a part of that. Just the fact of women making history that night. It was the first time ever in UFC that the co-main event and the main event were both female fights. So that was really cool to be a part of. And then, you know, I mean, I don't know, the whole thing with Ultimate Fighter and stuff, everybody, it's a huge deal, and I'm definitely grateful to have those opportunities. But I kind of tried to take the pressure off of myself, so I don't even think of it as being the co-main event or having this huge opportunity. I just kind of think of it as another day in this, and then after everything's said and done, I really absorbed the whole fact that, okay, it was co-main event and, you know, the greater things that come along with it.
Right.
Okay, now, something did just come to mind. This isn't a question that I had planned, but you had previously fought Kat Zingano. Now, being that, you know, it's a well-known fact that I'm a little bit of a hater, I had a big issue with the way that Kat Zingano, well, executed her game plan. Did you actually get to watch that in the back? And if you did, what went through your mind in that millisecond?
Yeah, I don't think there was enough time to think anything. You know, it was kind of frustrating. Just, I think Kat's a better fighter than that, and I think the fact that she kind of went out there, you know, a lot of people haven't really exposed Ronda's stand-up. I think that's one smart way to go, if you ask me. So it still doesn't make sense to me on why she ran out at the champion and threw a flying knee and just kind of like had no control of the situation. Like in those situations, you want to try to have as much control as possible.
Yeah, so I think the smart thing to do would be to keep as much distance away from Ronda as possible. Obviously, you want to try to avoid those grappling exchanges, so running at her with a flying knee was probably the worst possible strategy.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I couldn't agree more. I mean, a lot of people haven't really exposed that stand-up of Ronda's, and it's safe to say that letting your hands go and kind of moving around the cage and using that distance would probably get you a lot further than just tying up with her. I mean, obviously that fight made Ronda look really impressive, how she just pulled that one out.
Yeah, I don't know. There's the hate. Okay, anyways, now we've talked about other people. Let's talk about Rocky. We're talking about your hands and healing up. I want to know, are you healed up enough? Have you resumed training?
I did. I actually just got back into training. Through this whole process, I mean, obviously, I haven't really listened to the doctor's orders, but I'm the one that knows my body best. So I've been going through strength and conditioning and kind of staying in shape to that degree, so that way when I was able to start punching things again, it wouldn't be as bad. Last week, I finally got back into the gym. The first few punches I threw were, I'd have to say, brutal. It didn't feel too good. My bones weren't used to taking that impact, but I slowly worked back into it, and I mean, I feel ready to go, besides a couple little grip factors here and there, but it's just things I got to work through.
Okay, well, I know that prior to this, Altitude MMA was your gym, but I've read now that the gym has closed. Is that correct?
Yeah, there was a lot of issues that went on at the gym, and the owner kind of just gave everybody a talk, and he's like, yeah, so gym's closing tomorrow, get your stuff. It was a pretty crazy situation, but it's kind of brought me even greater opportunities. I've been training over at WCAP, which is called the World Class Athlete Program, on Fort Carson here in Colorado, and it's pretty much Olympian athletes. We work with other Olympians from the Olympic Training Center, and I mean, it's just all world-class athletes. So it's nice. I mean, it's not just kind of going into that gym and you have the same people over and over, and you already know where your talent stands there, or, oh, it's Raquel Pennington, and everybody kind of just wants that attention. It's hard to focus on your training. I mean, you go into the gym, and you got people with the same exact mentality where, I mean, you push from the minute practice starts until the very end, and it's awesome.
Yeah, I have that all the time. I go to the grocery store and everybody's like, "Ooh, it's Aaron Robbins." No, that. Do you get that, Kirby? Because nobody gives a damn when I go anywhere.
No, yeah, I do get that. Everybody cares when I go to the grocery store. It's a big deal.
Really? Is it because they mistake you for a wild animal with that hair and beard?
No, people love the beard, man. I'm telling you, the beard and the bun is what's in right now.
That beard.
You're hating. You're hating.
That beard is disgusting. That's all I have to say about that. Okay, so just quick for the fans. You're over in Colorado, is that correct?
Yep.
So you always train at elevation, right? So cardio's never an issue over there?
Correct.
Oh, really? Just correct? I'm guessing that sometimes maybe cardio is an issue then?
No, I mean, for me, it's phenomenal. When I have to go travel places and be gone for long time periods, I mean, coming back really sucks. But as far as living here and stuff, the high altitude training I love it. It makes it so much easier anywhere I go. It's just like, I feel like I suck too much wind in when I go down anywhere else. It's just, I can breathe too good. It's weird.
I can breathe too well. That's going to be the quote from Rocky Pennington for the year. When I go other places, I can breathe too well. Try to empty my gas tank, I dare you. Okay, so now that we have somebody who has 4 fights in the UFC, your next fight, whoever it's with, will be your 5th fight. And this is where we're going to kind of roundtable this, because Fred and I have some issue, and now we have a younger fighter who can kind of enlighten us a little bit. There is a lot of unrest right now across social media and within the UFC. Miles Jury throwing away his shoes. Tim Kennedy getting on the horn with Scott Coker. We're, of course, talking about the UFC's deal with Reebok, and we want to be able to pick a young fighter's brain about this. Fred, what is your general feeling about this right now that you know that it's tenure and not rank?
I gotta say, man, all jokes aside, you being a hater and me being a trained writer, I always do try to look at the positives in things. I try to be a glasses half full type guy. And when this first came out, obviously nobody was really feeling it like that. A lot of the fighters wasn't feeling it. Everybody in the media came out and kind of slammed it. And I gotta say, man, looking for the pros in it, it doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of pros, man. It seems like a lot of fighters are going to lose out on a lot of money. The only thing I could think about is maybe some of the smaller sponsors that will bullshit fighters around and not actually give them their full pay. I suppose maybe you cut out a little bit of that, and they don't have to worry about some of that as much. But generally, overall, it seems like a shitty deal. And now a lot of people are trying to crunch the numbers, and a lot of folks are acting like the numbers don't add up at all, and that the fighters aren't going to get as much or maybe even as half as much of this money as they were initially supposed to get. So, I don't know, dude.
Okay. Well, I wanted to bring Rocky into the fold here. With it being your 5th fight in the UFC next, you will receive $2,500 from Reebok. How excited were you to hear that?
That's not exciting at all. I feel like when it comes to this whole thing, there's its pros and cons, just with the fact of the whole Reebok deal. I mean, so when I have to travel to a fight, I have to pack all my gear. I have to pack training gear. I have to pack weight cutting gear, all kinds of stuff, just constantly. So it's a lot that I'm taking back and forth. So the nice part with Reebok is they're going to actually provide you with a bunch of gear. It's all going to be personal, completely like customized to Rocky Pennington, and they'll give us training gear, different things like that to have all throughout the week, which that will definitely be nice. And just the fact that we're not going to have to worry about, okay, what sponsor are we getting our shorts from, this, that, or another, getting all the logos and everything put on there. That'll also be another thing. I mean, that can get really hectic. So as far as that aspect, I think it's good. But when it comes down to the pay and everything else, I think just overall in general, it kind of takes away from each individual fighter. We all have our own sponsorships that kind of represent us in our own way. And I think now that we're all just going to be like Reebok athletes. That's it. And as far as it comes to the pay, I mean, we're getting gypped for sure. I don't sit here and just make $2,500 on a sponsorship. That's like a monthly sponsorship for me from one sponsor if you want to go. And that was probably like at the very beginning when I first started.
Yeah.
So to sit here and see that overall is going to be my sponsorship package, that really sucks. I think it really takes away from us.
I was going to make a small package joke, but I'll pass on that one. Okay, so for the fans, how much does a fight camp cost you, Rocky?
Usually in fight camp, between all the nutrition and everything, it can get pretty pricey. It goes anywhere from probably, I'd have to say, $7,000 to maybe 10.
Jiminy Christmas. That is not what I expected. Okay. And so, like you said, you have, because we notice other fighters, they get, say, their food, prepackaged food sent to them by a company. Maybe they get their supplements sent to them by a company. So there's not only monetary incentives, but there is also tangible incentives from a lot of these sponsors. Is that correct?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. So, you stand to lose quite a bit, it sounds like, and obviously I don't want you to have to expose yourself and say just how much. We've heard from other fighters, Brandon Schaub said thousands, tens of thousands of dollars. Do you have management or anybody that kind of takes care of your fight career at this point, or do you do it on your own?
Pretty much do my whole career on my own.
Okay.
I pretty much built myself to where it is, and I have people helping me out here and there.
Okay, well, with that in mind, have you started to develop some sort of plan where you can continue to work with sponsors outside of fight week and still be able to represent them on different fronts? Because it looks like that's what fighters are going to have to do after this point.
Yeah, we've definitely been talking about it, talking to the sponsors kind of what they would want to see or how they would feel with certain things. And, I mean, we're just all kind of going from there. It's a big change for everybody, so, yeah, it's a little frustrating. But I think there's still a lot of opportunity that lies without having to go do it all within the UFC and having to represent on our shorts and things like that. So
that's very interesting. I want to see how this all folds out. I know it's a long deal and there's a lot of money, and I think it was Bloody Elbow who added this up. But if it was July now, when the deal goes into effect, June or July, Reebok would have paid out, I believe it's less than $90,000, Fred, for last night's event, which only leaves them with $69,100,000. Or no, what did we figure it out? It was just astronomical how much is left over. So I'm really trying. I'm having a hard time. I'm trying not to be a hater, but I'm having a really hard time wrapping my mind around how the fighters can benefit from this the most. So I'll just throw this out to you real quick, Fred, and then we'll ask Rocky one more question, and then let her get on with her evening. How detrimental do you think this is going to end up being to the UFC, Fred?
I don't know, man. It's hard to say yet. It's still early. It could end up being horribly bad. And I guess that's my general curiosity with this whole idea. I've always thought that Dana White and the Fertittas were very good businessmen, great businessmen. They know what they're doing when it comes to shit like this, generally speaking. But this seems like a pretty stupid move, right? I mean, it just seems like nobody's really all that thrilled about this. I haven't even heard, you hear a couple fighters who come out and kind of say they're happy to be endorsed by Reebok. But generally speaking, across the board, nobody's thrilled about this, man. So it just seems like an odd move for them to do. They usually don't make a move like this where they know the general public is kind of like, we ain't feeling that. But they did this, man. So I don't know, man. I think it could be hugely detrimental. You could see a lot of cats ending their contracts and seeing Bellator as greener pastures. If you can go over there and get a lot more money for half the competition, why not, right?
Well, I think that we still have to see the carpet unroll. I would like to be optimistic. I'm not. But I would like to be optimistic about this because you know what? At the end of the day, a happy fighter is a dangerous fighter. I like to see fighters happy. I like to see them in their element. I like them to see them go after it, to have a goal, to have a reason to go perform in a way that makes all of their fans love them even more. So only time will tell, but I'm really hoping that this little version of what we see of the Reebok deal right now isn't all of it. They have a lot of time to tweak it and to make it into something else. Now, we won't pick on you anymore about that, Rocky, but with your hands still a little bit sore, but you're back into training, is there any buzz from the UFC wanting you back? Is there any idea who you might get next in the bantamweight division?
Yeah, we've been talking about a few fights, opportunities on when. We'll just kind of see. I kind of told them not until maybe around September, which is my birthday time, just to give myself that little extra break. I mean, I fought pretty close back-to-back with Ashley and Holly, and I don't want to really wear myself out the way that I did at the start of my career. I went professional, and I ended up fighting 6 fights in a 9-month period, and that completely exhausted me. I lost that passion and stuff. So I still want to focus on having that passion and just having fun with my career and everything. I don't want it to be something so serious to where I'm constantly beating up my body. We've talked about a few opponents and stuff like that, but I guess everybody will just have to wait and see.
Oh, I hate that answer. We always get that answer. All right, well, I tell you what. How about we have you back when you know who it is, and then that way you can tell us directly.
Sounds like a game plan.
All right, that sounds good to us, too. So it sounds like you're going to enjoy your summer. Sounds like you're doing everything smart, except for not following your doctor's orders. I just have to put that out there. Being a doctor myself, patients should follow their doctor's orders. Fred, before I close the interview section here, do you have anything else for Rocky?
No, that should be about do it. We're interested in seeing your next fight. It'll be interesting to see who you get, because I think that Holly Holm fight was really close, so I'd like to see you possibly get an equal opponent or maybe even a step up from her.
I would definitely have to agree, and whichever opponent comes along, that Holly Holm fight definitely lit a fire under my ass.
Yeah,
so,
we're going to have a pissed off Rocky, right?
Right.
Going to have a pissed off Rocky Pennington after this, right?
Yep.
Awesome. That's what I like to see, that bulldog choke against Ashley.
Yeah, that was tight, man.
Yeah, it was very tight. They put her right.
I Instagrammed that shit.
Yeah,
nice.
It was very tight. It put her right to sleep, actually. So okay, true story. So it sounds like you're going to enjoy your summer. That's awesome. So before we wrap this up, why don't you tell the fans, how do they connect with you over on social media?
They can definitely connect with me on Facebook at Raquel Rocky Pennington. It's my fan page. I have Instagram, which is Raquel_Pennington, and then Twitter, Rocky P MMA. Constantly on there, just keeping posted, updating different things. I do my best to pretty much interact with all my fans when I got some free time, laying in bed or when I'm sitting in the sauna trying to waste some time. I'll definitely try to answer back emails and just kind of personally interact. And then if anybody's interested in being part of Team Rocky, you could definitely go to RaquelPennington.com, pick up some Team Rocky merchandise and different things like that.
Definitely. Support our fighters. Fred, how do they find you on social media?
You can find me at Kirby_MMA and at Gym City Fighting, both on Twitter.
All right, fantastic. We have a new look overall on the website, standandbangmma.com. We've got a new look on our Twitter, which is Stand in Bang Radio. So check us out. We've got we are debuting our new banner with Rocky on it. You get the first inaugural awesome banner for our show, Rocky. So keep an eye out for that. Yep. And other than that, stay tuned for the second portion of our show. We are going to do a best and worst of 2015 in the UFC so far.